How are you holding up?
Facing felony murder charges and the rest of his life in prison, Fotis Dulos is free for now.
Do you think the murder charges will be able to stick?
Pix11 was there as Dulos posted a $6 million bond. A black SUV was waiting to whisk him away. Also today, Dulos' attorney Norm Pattis sat down for an exclusive interview with Pix11's Anthony DiLorenzo.
To post a $6 million bond, Mr. Dulos would have to come up with a cash fee payment to the bondsman of $420,000.
Dulos can now wait for trial in his Farmington, Connecticut mansion instead of jail, but he will remain there on house arrest.
The bond conditions will require that he wear two monitors, a GPS monitor and then another electronic monitoring device.
Prosecutors believe last May, Dulos murdered his estranged wife, the mother of his 5 children, Jennifer Dulos, but her body has not been recovered. Defense attorney Pattis opened up today about a strategy he might use in front of a jury.
I've probably gone too far already.
Explaining a theory of third-party culpability.
A lawyer's way of saying what is said on the street. Some other dude did it. Under Connecticut law, you can place third-party culpability before a jury if there's some reason to believe that someone else may have been involved.
Also arrested this week, Dulos' friend and civil attorney Kent Mawhinney. He's charged with conspiracy to commit murder for allegedly digging a makeshift grave. He is not expected to post his $2 million bond. Dulos' ex-girlfriend Michelle Troconis was also charged with conspiracy to commit murder this week. Troconis was taken to Stanford Hospital for an evaluation this afternoon after posting her $1.5 million bond. Jennifer Dulos filed for divorce back in 2017. At the time, the couple had been married for over a decade. And despite this week's arrests, state police tell us this investigation is still very active. Reporting live from Stanford, Connecticut tonight, Ayanna Harry, Pix11 News.
Ayanna, thank you so much. Well, in Queens, a popular restaurant went up in flames this afternoon. You're looking at video tonight from the Citizen app. The fire broke out at XI'AN Famous Foods in Long Island City. Look at that thick smoke filling the air, the flames ripping right through the building. The fire shut down traffic along parts of Jackson Avenue. According to officials, one person was hurt but is expected to be okay, so that's the good news. But wow, you can look at that and see considerable damage there. Investigators looking into just how that fire started in the first place.
Well, turning to what's happening outside, but it was cold this morning. Ooh. I mean, cold. At least now we're at least at the freezing point, G, but my goodness, what's going on?
Look at that shot behind you, man. Again, it's January, and again, we're 8.5 degrees above normal so far for the month, but the big guy is right. We had a chilly morn at 23 degrees, 24 degrees at Kennedy, and then right now temperature is up to 32, and again, it's below the norm, but again, we're well above the norm for the month. So we'll take this day of cold because in that spate of time, 24 hours, we're going to rebound and respond to a 50-degree reading. That's going to be the storyline tomorrow in the afternoon, and I've got a gift for you over the weekend. Maybe 2 record-breaking temperatures. How's that? We'll talk later on.
All right, G. Thank you. Well, the man accused of slashing people during a Hanukkah celebration has now been hit with more federal charges. Grafton Thomas was indicted today on 5 new charges of injuring someone because of their religion. Thomas has already pled not guilty to attempted murder. Police say Thomas broke into a rabbi's home in Muncie and attacked people with a machete. 6 people were injured. Thomas could get life in prison if convicted. And a wild scene in the East Village led to the NYPD's first officer-involved shooting of the year. Started with a fight inside a club at Avenue A and East 7th Street, right near Tompkins Square Park. Things turned deadly when that fight spilled outside. Pix7's James Ford is live at the scene with the very latest on the investigation. James.
And you pointed it out, Corey. It's been more than 12.5 hours since this happened, and only about 5 minutes ago or so, police reopened the street in front of this smoking bar where this took place. It's a reminder of just how thorough an investigation has to be when anyone is killed, but that much more thorough when the killing involves members of law enforcement. Hayati is an Arabic word that means my life. Ironically, outside of a hookah smoking bar with that name, 2 men lost their lives.
It woke me up at 3:30 in the morning. It was very horrific.
He lives in the building next to the lounge where 2 men, according to police, had some kind of argument, then stepped outside. Seconds later, gunfire.
Because it was really loud. It was like bam, bam, bam. I'm like, oh, whoa.
He also lives next door. At the end of the block is Tompkins Square Park, where 2 officers on patrol heard the gunfire, turned on their body cameras, and ran over to find one man on the ground and the other with a gun in his hand.
The 2 officers engaged the armed suspect and gave numerous commands for him to get on the ground. He refused. He kept on walking. It was then the officers fired approximately 3 times at the male, striking him.
The chief of department says that the officers then approached the man they'd shot at this scene on Avenue A between 7th and 8th Streets and realized it had almost been a shootout.
Another .22 caliber handgun was recovered near the second man who was shot.
These are those guns. Investigators say the man who shot the other man and was then shot by police was no stranger to law enforcement.
The male that we engaged with had served 8 years in prison for a prior shooting and was currently on parole for that shooting.
No matter what his status, residents say that what happened here is a shock to an otherwise easygoing way of life.
The neighborhood, it's like a small village, like a real village, because it's the only neighborhood I know in New York where you can see people smiling.
Now, at this point, the NYPD has not released the names of the 2 men involved, but they have said that one is 41 years old, the other is 37 years old. Meanwhile, some longtime residents say that this shooting could be an indication that the neighborhood has just gotten too popular. We'll talk more about that coming up on the Pix 11 News at 6 o'clock. Right now, reporting live from the East Village, I'm James Ford, Pix 11 News.
All right, James, thank you so much. Well, new developments in the case of that woman who was sucker punched in the mouth. Police have arrested a 26-year-old homeless man in this case, Eugene Webb, and charged him with assault and harassment. Police say that victim had just come out of the subway yesterday at Houston Street when the man approached her and punched her multiple times in the face, causing her to fall to the ground. The victim lost 2 teeth in that random attack and was visibly shaken when she was led to an ambulance.
Well, new NASA satellite pictures show just how much of Puerto Rico is without power. About 2/3 of the island is without electricity after a series of powerful quakes and aftershocks on Tuesday. Engineers say about 75% of homes should have power by the weekend. Some people could be without power for a year. The earthquakes left 1 man dead and damaged or destroyed dozens of homes. Meanwhile, the Health and Human Services Secretary has declared a public health emergency. The FDA is also responding to the situation there in Puerto Rico.
Well, Queen Elizabeth has called an emergency meeting to resolve the tensions surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's scaling back their role as royals. The 93-year-old monarch is reportedly coordinating with Princes Charles and William on how to handle the couple's decision. The meeting comes after sources say Queen Elizabeth asked Harry not to announce any changes in his royal status until details of his new role were determined. According to sources, the palace wants a quick resolution of the couple's new official and financial situation to avoid a drawn-out conflict. And one British institution is not wasting time addressing Harry and Meghan's new role. Madame Tussauds Museum in London has removed their wax figures from the royal family's display area. Until yesterday, the couple were between the Queen and Prince Philip. The museum is defending the change, saying it mirrors the new royal lineup.
Well, dozens of weapons were seized in a massive gun sting on Long Island.
Yeah, tonight police are saying a Long Island store owner was selling them out of his sporting goods store. We're going to have that story coming up tonight.
And the MTA reveals some commuters were being double charged fare just by walking through the subway station. We'll tell you about that ahead.
He may have won the press conference, but will it translate to wins for Big Blue? Coming up after the break, we'll introduce you to new Giants head coach Joe Judge.
You're watching the Pix 11 News at 5 with Tamsin Fidel, Corey Chambers, and Mr. G with your weather. We're New York's very own.
A Long Island store owner accused of selling illegal guns out of his sporting goods store. And today police announced he sold one of those weapons to a father who used it to kill his son.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaking story Pix 7 first told you about in June of 2018. The parents were locked in a bitter custody battle when police say the father kidnapped the son. 2 days later, they were both found dead.
Now, with the father allegedly using the gun he purchased from the Ronkonkoma store. Now, more than a year after the store owner was arrested, the DA announced his indictment and the dangers his guns created.
The only reason this gun exists with this type of magazine is for a mass shooting.
The Suffolk County DA showed off some of the 116 assault weapons seized in a 69-count case against Chester Pergin, the owner of Chester's Hunting and Fishing in Ronkonkoma.
He was trafficking in illegal firearms. He had no right to sell any of these weapons in New York State. Under the right circumstances, this will put a hole in a tank.
Pergin has pleaded not guilty. He had a federal firearms license but had lost his state license. His attorney says that's a constitutional issue.
The heart of the question, the bullseye of the issue, is whether the New York State license is required to piggyback the federal license in the sale of these weapons.
That's absolutely untrue. Even if he had that license, he's not permitted to sell these type of weapons to the people he was selling them to. A gun he sold was used in a heinous crime.
The DA is talking about a rifle, one of 13 guns recovered by detectives who went out looking for guns he sold. It was in this box.
And the reason it's in that box and not displayed visibly is because there's blood on that weapon.
It's blood from a 2018 murder-suicide. John Legurgo bought the gun, then a few months later kidnapped and murdered his 2-year-old son and killed himself amid a bitter custody battle.
I was shocked.
Maria Busoni stunned at hearing the gun that killed her son was illegal. She says she knew her estranged boyfriend, Legurgo, had the weapon, but didn't know it was illegal.
If I would have known that gun was illegal, it would have been taken out of my house immediately. So that's one thing that really makes me angry.
Chester Pergin, the man accused of selling those illegal weapons, is out on $800,000 bond tonight in that case.
Let's turn out the latest in the Harvey Weinstein rape trial. Court has been recessed for the day because of a medical issue with one of the attorneys. The prosecutor has gone to see a doctor because she got something in her eye that was causing her pain. Potential jurors were sent home and will be back tomorrow for preliminary questioning. The judge also refused to recuse himself from the case, saying that he was not biased against Weinstein. He said he just was trying to scare him earlier this week when he scolded him about using a cell phone in court.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about what is happening outside. 32 degrees, but what a beautiful, that's picture perfect, right?
Yeah.
Little orange sliver in the sky. G, take it away.
The deal is going to be a dry night coming up and a dry day for tomorrow, but the big headline is 2 records. In Saturday, 1975, we hit 63 degrees, and a couple of years ago, 2017, we got to 66. Why mention it? We got a shot at cracking both records Saturday and Sunday, respectively. 32 humidity, 34 east, north, and east, 6 miles per hour. And for tomorrow, we start the parade of temps going up at 50, near 50 degrees to the north. Nassau and Suffolk County, you'll be in the low 50s. This is warm air up and over cold air. This is not a storm moving in. This is what we call warm air advection. And again, a cloud cover for tonight in spots, not a big deal. Look at Chicago in at 50, Lexington 55, Chicago go down to 44, but look at Lexington at 64. And then the mild air really begins to move in our direction from Washington at 64 to near 60 degrees on Saturday, 64 degrees on Sunday. This is the modeling, near 70 in D.C. Come on, man. And we got a shot if we can keep the sun out on both days, though there is a shower possible on Sunday early. So a couple of scattered showers about way out west. The mild air comes in, it sticks, it stays, and once again over the weekend we could feature record-breaking temperatures. We'll have more later on.
All right, G, thank you.
Well, the Giants made it official today and introduced the team's new head coach, Joe Judge.
Yeah, Pick 7 Joe Messeri was there, joining us live tonight from MetLife Stadium with more. Hey, Joe.
Hey there, guys. Joe Judge seemingly came out of nowhere before being named the Giants head coach, but on day 1 here at MetLife